Hey guys, it's Jessica, and today I'm going to share a full card tutorial with you, just the basic steps on what I did to make this card. So this stamp set that I'm using is from Hero Arts, and it's called Stamp Your Own Fruit. I thought with summer coming up, the weather's finally changing around here, I needed some fruit and summer type stuff in my life. So here we go. So the first thing, I made a boo-boo there. I used the wrong kind of ink. I was going to use the Zig Clean Color Reel brushes to color my stamps, and I wasn't sure if I was going to use water or not, so I started with the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I realized that wouldn't be good if I wanted to use water, so I switched, and I'm using this VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp a pattern for a background for my card front. So I started with the largest image, which is the watermelon, and they are oh so cute. And then I will move on to the smaller stamps and fill them in as I go. So I'm just using 3 stamps for the front of my card, and that is the watermelon that you see there. The next one that I do is the next largest, which is the cherry. And there you can see I'm doing that. Now I did skip because I didn't feel like you probably wanted to watch me do all of the stamping that there was. So I did the stamping, and then I think it skips ahead and doesn't show me stamping the strawberries. But I followed the same process. I just kind of filled in the blank space where I thought it would look good to have something and tried not to make it look too cluttered. Now that card front there is currently I think 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I did end up cutting it down to fit my card front better. So there you can see I have my strawberries all stamped and ready to go, and here I'm just experimenting with my Zig Clean Color Reel brushes and a water brush from Jane Davenport. Now, I totally botched that first strawberry, and I didn't like the way that it turned out at all, but have no fear. I actually just covered it up with something else later. So if you make mistakes, try to keep going and salvage something out of it. That's what I've been trying to do lately. I am a perfectionist, but I have been trying to really just let go and stick with my project, even if I've made a mistake. So the other thing about this coloring is I realized after the fact that I really kind of did the coloring backwards. For both the strawberries and the watermelons, the color really should have gone the opposite direction, with the lightest color at the top and getting darker as it goes to the bottom. You know how you have that kind of whitish part right at the top where the stem is for the strawberries, and then there's the white part kind of that's near the rind for watermelon. Well, I don't know what I was thinking, but I did it backwards. So if you color some watermelon or some strawberries, just keep that in mind, that it should go the other way. But I figured, hey, what the heck, it still turned out looking fairly decent, even though I didn't really like the way that the watermelon turned out at all. So I'm just using a couple different colors, and I'll link to all of the products that I use in case you're interested in the exact colors. But I'm just using a few different colors of the Zig Clean Color Reel brushes to actually do some coloring. Now, I started with that water brush, and I really didn't like the way it looked, like I said. So I decided to try and see if it would work to just use the Zig Clean Color Reel brushes by themselves, just like a marker. I was actually really happy with it. It was easy to color with them because you've got that nice little brush tip. You can get into the nooks and crannies. And since it's such a fine tip, you don't really have a lot of problem trying to get into small areas. Like some other markers would bleed and you wouldn't be able to get the fine details of the stamps. So once I had everything colored, I went ahead and added some white gel pen detail to the strawberries to kind of make the seeds pop a little bit more. And then I stamped another watermelon. So here you can see I did get smart and reverse the color order of my watermelon, which, you know, they're not going to match, but that's okay. Like I said, we're trying to keep going and keep moving with the projects that we've already got. So that's what I did. So I went ahead and colored it in, and I added some brown to the seeds of the watermelon just to make it pop. And I started to go around and use a white gel pen to fix my mistakes from where I went out of the lines. But then I did a really horrible job at fussy cutting with a white border. So then I ended up just cutting it all off anyway. So it was just the shape. So it didn't have any white border around it. So it really didn't matter that I did the gel pen cover up. So there is my fussy cut watermelon, And I tried to use this Zig Clean Color Wheel brush to kind of hide the white lines. It didn't really work very well, so if you're going to try to use that, I probably wouldn't. But I just grabbed a pen that I had laying on my desk and I used that, and it worked perfect, just to give it a more finished and professional look around the outside. So to cover up my botched strawberry right in the middle of my paper, I went ahead and got a black piece of cardstock that measured the whole length of my card, but not the whole width. So it's just a nice little strip down the center or off to the side maybe. And I took the sentiment stamp from this Hero Art stamp set and went ahead stamped it with my Mini Misty using Versamark ink, and then I used some Ranger white embossing powder. I used my heat tool to heat emboss that, or to melt the embossing powder, and then now I'm going back through with some of the fruit and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm stamping it with the clear embossing ink, or watermark ink, and then I'm going to go back over with the Ranger embossing powder in white, and I thought that it looked really cute, and it was a nice stark contrast compared to all the bright vibrant colors on the background. So I thought that looked really cute. Now, I did use my anti-static tool before I went ahead and used the watermark ink and the embossing powder, but for some reason I don't know if it's really humid in my house right now, but the embossing powder was everywhere. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using a paintbrush, to wipe off some of that excess embossing powder so I didn't have tiny little white dots everywhere on my paper, especially since it's black. It shows up really, really well. So that's what I did there. Then I used my paper trimmer to trim it down and make sure that my sentiment was pretty much centered. And it gives it a nice look like the pattern's repeating, since it goes off of the edge of the strip there. Now, I struggled hard with this little watermelon. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, so you'll see me keep putting it in different places, trying to figure out where I want it to go. Then I needed a mat for my little black strip of paper, so I decided to make one that would match perfectly. So I took a strip that was just wider than my black piece, and I'm using one of the coordinating colors of Zig Clean Color Wheel brushes to color just the edges, and that gives me a perfect match to the colors that I was using, even though I didn't have a piece of cardstock that would match perfectly. So that's a really great way to stretch your supplies, especially if you're not sure really what to do with some of the stuff. If you're kind of short on ways to use the supplies you already have, and this makes it so you don't have to go out and buy a ton of different colors and papers to match. I do this a ton with my Distress inks, and I just find it really helpful. So there's that watermelon again. You see me playing around with it a bunch. Here I just used some craft foam that you can get at the craft store in the kids section to mount my little sentiment strip there up so that I could put a ribbon around it and it wouldn't get all bulky and lumpy. I really hate that. So I left a little gap for my ribbon, or my twine to go through. And that was my twine storage system. I did a video on it a little while back. I got inspired by Nina Marie, and I'll link to that video here so that you can see it if you're interested. But I'm just using some baker's twine. I wrapped it around 3 times, used some washi tape on the back, and I just spaced it out to where I thought it looked cute. And I adhered my little panel to a black card base, or a black mat, I guess it would be, and then adhered that to my card base. And I have my own little stamp that I put on the back of all of my cards, and then I went ahead and adhered that strip to the card as well. So I used Glossy Accents to do that. It actually is a really nice adhesive. I know that's probably not really what it's for, but it works really well, especially for that fun foam or the craft foam. I find that I have a hard time getting other adhesives to stick to it, so that works really well if you need something for that. Then I went ahead and coated my little watermelon in Glossy Accents, and I actually let it sit overnight. It was really late and I needed to go to bed anyway, so I just went ahead and let it sit overnight to dry, and then when I came back, I went ahead and applied a couple more dots of Glossy Accents to the back and stuck it right on my little strip there, and I was happy with the way that it turned out. So for the inside of the card, I didn't do any special stamping or anything like that, but I did take some Distress inks in Mode Lawn, and I went ahead and applied that to a card insert to put on the inside, and I used my tape gun to adhere that to the interior, just for a pop of color and to make it coordinate with the front. I was really happy with the way this card turned out, and I hope that you love it, and maybe it will inspire you to do some stamping and card making also. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.